So what is going on, everybody? My name is Mehul and welcome to your 15th Angular tutorial, in which we're going to finally take a look at routing in Angular, which is a solid concept and would help you to create powerful Angular apps, right? Because with routing you can actually spread your website into multiple kind of pages. Like if you're creating a login application, then you can create a route for dashboard, settings, user page, leaderboard, whatever it is, right? If you are creating anything like a quiz, then you can create a route of questions or languages or whatever. It's up to you, right? So to actually begin with routing, we're going to refer to the documentation itself. It is actually quite rich and good to read as well. You can just go ahead and go with the documentation itself and you'll be good to go. But still, we can just follow along with what their documentation says. So first of all, it says me to set a base href tag so that we can pretty much make Angular clear that we would be always referring from this root path, right? So you can go to your where we have the index.html and set the base href to / here. And once you have done that, the next thing Angular says is to import the two modules, which is the router module and the routes. So again, you need to import that because as it says, it's not included in Angular core. So Angular tries to keep all of its specific parts of the application as much modular as possible, so that even if your app does not need routing, then it doesn't unnecessarily use that, right? So now what you need to do is import these two modules by that, and then what we need to do is do some configuration. And for configuration, first of all, we will need to import this into our module itself so that it is available to all the components and directives, which we talked about in the last tutorial, I guess. So this router module .for root takes in an object, it takes in an array actually of app routes, which is an array of objects which pretty much defines how your route should look like. So if you have done Angular 1, then you might be able to relate this with something like we used to do with route provider dot when, and then there goes our routes like dashboard. Then we used to say something like template URL and then controller and all that stuff. So on a similar thing, this app routes would be similar to that when block which we had, right? So it would be pretty much just like this thing given here, and we can just trim it down to just one route for now. We can bring it down. So you see that for a very basic use case, we have just this path and the component. The path defines the path for something like localhost / dashboard. For this path, we would just pretty much go with this thing right here, right? And for the component, we could say this is dashboard component. And we can now actually create this dashboard component by going here and saying ng generate component and then dashboard, right? So when you do something like this, then it would generate a component with the first letter of the name as capital, the component name I'm referring to, and then adding a component at the end of it. So if you take a look now, we get this dashboard, and this dashboard components file contains the class name as dashboard component, which is exactly what we have written right here, right? So this is basically our very simple route. And now we can take a look at dashboard component.html, which just says dashboard works. So now if we go to our app and go to dashboard right here, you would see that we get an error because we have to include the router outlet, which is something like div ng view, which we used to do in Angular 1, if you can relate. So this router outlet would pretty much go into our main component, which would be our app, this app component.html, and we can say something like router views, and we can just go ahead and say router outlet, and that's pretty much it. So now if we take a look and go to dashboard, hit enter, you can see that in router views we get dashboard works. And remember that your app would always bootstrap the app component so that this hello world would still be there. If you just want to remove this, what you can do is pretty much just remove it from here, and for the route you can actually create another component, and inside here we can define another path, which would be pretty much like this thing, that is basically nothing, or just the local host port number 4200, and we can just say this is home component, and we can say something like generate component home, and just reload it, and I guess we lost our changes again. So what we're gonna do is quickly create that again. Path is nothing, component is home component, and we go to home component, and we pretty much says like what we have in here, and then our app component could pretty much just consist of this router outlet with a router view tag, or you can just pretty much just take it and place it inside your HTML as well, anything that suits you, right? So you can see that we get dashboard works here, and we get hello world here. Perfect, right? So that is how pretty much we create a very basic routing stuff with Angular, and it's super easy to get started with. You see that we just completed this tutorial in just I don't know, we haven't even scrolled like 10% of the page. So that was a very basic and brief introduction to routing in Angular, and in the next tutorial I'm gonna show you how we can browse across routes rather than just you know, going to hard-coded URLs, because you see that it takes some time. Right now it just takes some time because it's compiling the code, right? So it might not take that much time when you actually deploy it for the production. But anyways, we're going to take a look how we can actually navigate from this page or a particular component to another route, right? So that is all for this one, and if you liked it, then please don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching. I'll see you then in the next one.